My name is Lieutenant Commander Lev Ostrogin, Senior Navigator of the submarine Severin. Remember my name, and remember this voice. What I'm about to tell you has no embellishment and no heroism, only the truth of what happened beneath the sea. We were on routine patrol when the sonar caught something that shouldn't have existed, a broad plateau shaped like the ruins of an ancient city. We settled gently onto the seabed, trying to make sense of the strange formations, and that's when it began. It wasn't a torpedo, or a mine, or anything mechanical. It was silence that attacked us. A heavy darkness crept through the compartments. One sailor tried to open a torpedo tube and walk straight into the black water. Another started laughing, smashing his head against the bulkhead. A third swore he could hear voices calling his name. I took command, sealed off the sections, and fought to keep the crew alive. Bit by bit I pieced together what was happening. Outside, drifting in the dim light, hovered a swarm of enormous jellyfish, ancient creatures, older than any memory of man. They were reading us from a distance, slipping alien thoughts into our minds. By the end, we would understand. These weren't animals at all. They were the guardians of the ruins. Their hypnosis, a shield. Their glow, a language. I'm not a mystic or a poet. I'm a man who trusts his instruments. But that night, the instruments lied, and the sea told the truth. We moved slow, the way the manuals say. Silence, the faint vibration of the hull, the whisper of pumps. The deep was black as a childhood closet. On the sonar screen, a thin green veil flickered, and suddenly the impossible appeared. Clean geometric lines, terraces, a city half surrendered to the sea. The captain leaned toward me. Plateau. Looks more like ruins. Not natural. We eased down onto the seabed as if landing on the shoulder of some ancient giant. The gravel cracked softly beneath us. The hull sighed. I checked the charts, the depth, the sound profile. All clear. Too clear. The first to break was the radio operator. He stood up, removed his headphones, and smiled like a stranger. "They're calling," he whispered, and started toward the emergency hatch. "Stop!" I caught him at the bulkhead. His skin was cold, his eyes glassy. Later the doctors would write acute stress reaction. It wasn't stress. The lights flickered. For a moment I saw slow rings of brightness sliding over the steel walls, as if painted by an invisible brush. A sharp smell of iodine filled the air, strong as a hospital. No one else seemed to notice, but I saw the mechanic turn pale, as if something inside him had been turned outward. Ostrogin report. No external targets. Only ambient noise. Instruments stable. Then why are my men walking around like sleepwalkers? I don't know. Not yet. I ordered all internal hatches sealed. Movement restricted. No panic. No shouting. Only the hush of people afraid to disturb the air. We launched the probe camera. The cable slithered past the porthole. On the screen appeared sand, broken columns, a mosaic whose faces had been erased by water, leaving only blank eyes. Then, a soft shadow drifted across the lens. Not a shark. Not a ray. It didn't swim. It hovered. Do you see that? I see it. A dome. Huge, milky, opaque. Around its rim, garlands of tentacles, each as thick as my wrist. The light came from within, cold and even, the detached brightness of an operating room. The camera shuddered, as though something had brushed it. A breath hissed through the speaker, FFF, as if the ocean had picked up the phone. Something clicked inside my skull. A simple, foreign thought slid into place. Leave. This isn't for you. The politeness of it was more terrifying than any threat. In the forward compartment, Seaman Kulikov unlatched the inspection hatch and began crawling into the torpedo tube. Slowly, calmly, as if he decided to take out the trash. "Kulikov, back away." "She's there," he said. "My mother." There was no mother waiting under the keel. But he saw her there, and for that moment, I believed him as much as I'd ever believed a compass. I hit the intercom. All hands, remain at stations. Seal compartments. Medical team to Torpedo Bay. Security to the radio room. No improvisation. That's an order. The captain shot me a wary glance. Do you know what this is? I only know they're testing us. They. Whoever lives down here. Or guards it. No one said the word Atlantis, but it sat between us like a silent officer. The probe camera kept crawling across the mosaic floor, then froze. More domes emerged, dozens, then hundreds, suspended like lanterns. They glowed with a soft, inner pulse, and for an instant I forgot to breathe. The light etched circles into my vision. The patterns on the seabed shifted as though alive. Square, circle, spiral. Someone laughed. A dry, papery sound. The mechanic was standing by the panel, gently tapping his forehead against the metal. Blood smeared the surface, and he smiled through it. Cut power to non-essentials, the captain ordered. Maybe they're hitting us with current. It's not electricity, I said. I laid my hand on the navigation table to feel whether the vibration came from the hull, or from us. Another voice slid into my head, calm and perfectly articulate. Do not interfere. We are healing. Healing what? The stones? Themselves? Us? I didn't understand, but the words snapped me out of paralysis and filled me with anger. All hatches sealed. Oxygen masks ready. Medical. Sedatives on standby. Torpedo bay locked. Kulikov under guard. My voice came out flat and mechanical. A machine voice. And that was good. Machines don't panic. The camera jolted again and went dead. Before the feed vanished, one last image flashed, a spiral made of light, expanding toward the lens like an eye staring through the wire. Darkness fell. Only the red emergency bulbs remained, glowing like pomegranate seeds. Surface, the captain said. We can't. They're holding us at an angle. If we ascend now, we'll hit the ridge, or surface miles from our coordinates. What's your plan? Back out slowly. 3 meters astern, 2 to starboard. No cavitation. And no one looks out the portholes. I wasn't joking. To look was to surrender your eyes, and then your mind. We crept backward like a blind crab, navigating by numbers instead of sight. I heard the hull scrape over sand, a vast hand stroking us. The radio room was silent except for breathing. The mechanic sat with an ice pack on his head, staring at a point in space as if a whole world lived there. Still, they wouldn't let us go. A heavy tide pressed inside our skulls. Every compartment had someone hearing a private voice. Go home, you failed, you're in the way. Mine was different, gentler, insistent. Leave the men. I answered it the way you'd hang up on a polite telemarketer. No. Firm, but courteous. The tide recoiled. Lev, the captain whispered. If they're alive, do they have brains? Their brain is the light. How do you know? I'm listening. He said nothing more. The garden of jellyfish faded behind us, but their lights still shimmered in the portholes, like an aftertaste. We drifted along the edge of the plateau where the sand dropped off into a black abyss. I ordered a slight rise, just enough to clear the hull, and dared to glance through the side glass. What I saw didn't belong to the human world. It was an upside-down sky, terraces rising toward the dark, archways draped in shadow, fish weaving through stone corridors like silver birds. And above it all floated the jellyfish, huge, translucent orbs of pale fire, their bodies pulsing with symbols I didn't recognize yet somehow understood. Do not come closer. Do not take. Do not destroy. They were warning us. Protecting something. Lev, the captain murmured. Why now? We've sailed for weeks and seen nothing. Because we've reached their threshold. Whose threshold? The Atlanteans. The word hung in the air, and the whole submarine seemed to shiver, like something ancient had just been spoken aloud for the first time in centuries. In the torpedo bay, Kulikov began to cry quietly. The doctor crouched beside him, a hand on his shoulder. "You know there's no one out there," the doctor said softly. "She's there. My mother. She's calling for tea." "That's not her voice, son." "But it is her voice." I turned off the intercom, sat down, pressed my fingers to my eyes. Then it struck me, they weren't attacking us through fear, they were testing our bonds. Mother and son, commander and navigator, man and sea. If a bond was strong, it quivered but held. If weak, it snapped, and the person was gone. "Captain," I said, "let me speak to the crew. Just once." He nodded. "This isn't mysticism or bravery," I told them. "We're a crew. They're trying to divide us. Each of you will hear someone you love. Don't argue with it. Don't deny it. Accept it like you accept water pressure. It's just there. What matters is this: we stay together. Nobody opens a door. Nobody runs. Nobody hides. Keep each other in mind. Imagine holding everyone with your hands. Count to 10. Breathe. I'm beside you. Always." For a long time, silence. Then I felt it. The whole submarine exhaled, light and slow. "Lev," the captain said quietly, "what now?" "Now," I whispered, "we find out what they really are." I already knew where to look. The light. That soft, milky glow that seeped into the mind uninvited, leaving behind a question. If light has intention, it has will. And if there's will, there's a name. I was about to ask the sea for its name when the world tilted. One moment I was in the control room. The next, I was standing inside the light itself. No water, no metal, no instruments. Just thick, luminous air. I wasn't alone. I felt the others, the radio operator, the mechanic, the doctor, scattered through the same brightness. We were dreaming the same dream. Walls rose ahead of us. Not stone, but clear and rippling like sculpted water. Symbols flowed across them. Circles, spirals, intersecting lines. I realized it wasn't writing. It was breathing. The breath of something that had been watching us for ages. Then a voice, direct, calm, and absolute, spoke not into my ears, but straight into my heart. "We are the guardians. We came before you. We lived with those who built their home here. We healed their pain. We kept their memory. They left. We remained. We remember." Images flooded me like a tide. A shining city collapsing into fire. People screaming, reaching for the surface. A storm of colossal jellyfish arching above them, compressing light, trying to soften the fall. It wasn't enough. The city sank. The Guardian stayed, alone in the dark, carrying centuries of memory. The radio operator trembled. "They're showing us." "They were crying," he whispered. The doctor clutched his head. The mechanic stared, whispering, "I saw myself dying down there." The captain gritted his teeth. "They're showing U.S. history?" "Not just history," I said. "They want to see if we can bear it." The voice returned, a pulse inside my chest. "We are memory. We heal the dark. But you are noise. Your thoughts tear us. Your fear burns. We seek no harm. We seek silence." Then the realization hit, cold and perfect. To them, we were the infection. They weren't trying to destroy us. They were trying to heal us. Their cure was hypnosis, whispers, madness. They simply didn't know another way. "They think we're sick," I said. "And if we don't leave?" the captain asked. "They'll keep healing, until nothing of us remains." I snapped back into my body as if bursting through the surface. The room was real again. The lights steady. The radio operator exhaled. "They're not evil," he said softly. "No," I answered. "But even mercy can kill." The captain nodded slowly. "Then we leave. But if this is memory, maybe they want someone to carry it." That idea hooked into me like a fishhook. Maybe that was the point. Not to end us, but to pass something on. Outside the porthole, the light flickered, softly as if it agreed. We drifted at the edge of the plateau, between two worlds. The submarine was silent, but every soul inside was trembling. I knew the Guardians wouldn't let us go until they got what they came for. The captain faced me. "Lev, do you understand what they want?" "Almost," I said. "But we'll never know unless we ask them directly." "Ask them?" "The jellyfish. I'm done pretending this isn't happening." I closed my eyes, steadied my breathing, and reached out. Not with instruments, but with thought. "I'm here. Speak to me." The world tilted. Light surged, swallowing everything. The submarine, the walls, the air. I wasn't floating. I was inside their radiance. Behind me, I felt the others. The radio operator trembling, the doctor motionless, the captain near but silent. From the brightness formed a shape. Not a body, not even a face. A single vast eye without a pupil, surrounded by rippling circles of light. The voice came, steady and ancient. "You are noise. But within the noise are seeds. We need you to carry them, so the light does not die." I steadied myself. "What do you want us to carry?" "Memory. And then visions. Not ruins this time, but the city alive. White towers rising from the sea, bridges woven like ribbons, streets glowing beneath the waves. Tall people with calm eyes walked among the jellyfish, not afraid but in harmony. They shared one language, patterns of light, rhythm, and sound. Then came the quake. Fire. Water collapsing over marble. Voices screaming. Jellyfish swirling above the chaos, pouring light into the falling city like healers trying to mend a wound too deep. When the city died, they stayed behind, centuries upon centuries, guarding what was left. We remember. But memory weakens. The light fades. We must pass it on. You are the first who hears. A chill ran through me. They weren't monsters. They were witnesses. Survivors. But the cost of that contact was unbearable. "If we agree," I asked, "what will happen to us?" "You will change. Your dreams will become ours. Your children will remember what they never lived. You will carry us. If not, you will leave empty, and the light will die." The radio operator screamed. "I don't want their dreams." The mechanic fell to the floor, shaking. The doctor whispered, "They're offering us an inheritance, but who could live with it?" The captain turned to me. "Lev, do you realize what this means? We'll come back. Different. No one will believe us." "I know," I said. "But if we don't accept, everything down here will vanish forever." The light pulsed, pressing closer. "You are the choice. Noise or memory. Decay or light. Decide." Half the crew were ready to surrender, the other half trembling with fear. I gathered what was left of my will, rage, loyalty, love, and stepped forward. "All right," I said. "But through me alone. If I carry it, you leave the others unharmed." For a moment, stillness. Then, "One will carry. All will live." And the light entered me. It wasn't pain. It was expansion. My body trembled, and for an instant I was falling and flying at once. I heard the laughter of Atlantean children, the roar of waves, the hum of their machines, the hush of death. I felt their despair, and their peace. When I opened my eyes, I was back in the control room. The submarine intact. The crew alive. The sea calm. The captain's hand landed on my shoulder. Lev, are you all right? No, I said. But I remember. The screen showed nothing, only the quiet seabed, empty and dark. But in my head burned a single image, a spiral of light. And I knew. That was the weight I now carried. Paper ran out fast. I tore my notebook into squares and filled them with symbols over and over, as if I were trying to remember the face of someone I'd seen 1,000 years ago. A circle, a spiral, 3 rays, another spiral, a split line like lightning. The doctor sat beside me in silence, turning the pages as I finished each one. It's not a device, he said finally. It's a rhythm. What kind of rhythm? Breathing, heartbeat, a city's pulse. The word city hit me like a wave. I could see it, the city breathing. Inhale, light. Exhale, shadow. They hadn't built machines. They had tuned the world itself to their rhythm. Water, stone, air, and light as one instrument. The radio operator appeared in the doorway, pale as chalk. You'd better come look at this. We went out to the pier. Night. The sea was black as oil. Far away, cigarette embers winked in the dark. He pointed toward the water. At the shoreline, faint rings of light shimmered, small white circles rippling outward like someone tossing coins beneath the surface. Then the rings joined, twisting into spirals. Is it them? I asked. He shook his head. No, it's us. We brought their rhythm back. I said nothing. The water's whisper matched the drawings in my notebook, the tempo of my pulse. If rhythm could travel through stone, maybe it could spread through air, through minds. All I'd need was something simple. A coil, some light filters, a few acoustic parts. Just enough to test the frequency. If I played it right, maybe the city would answer. The captain found us later in the storage shed. They've been asking questions, he said. Headquarters wants a report. And you, radio man, what's wrong with your temples? The radio operator smiled oddly. Just interference. But I can handle it. The captain pulled me aside. Lev, if you're building something, tell me. I need to know where this ends. I'm not building anything, I lied. That night, the doctor and I set up a silent experiment in the empty warehouse. We assembled a small frame with a light shining through a bowl of water, the spiral pattern etched onto a film strip. I flipped the switch. The air shivered. For a second, the shadows blurred, the lamp flickered, and the wall lit up with a spiral, though the lens was perfectly round. The doctor clenched his fists. Turn it off. I did. The world snapped back into shape. My heart hammered. They're responding, I said quietly. Somewhere deeper. Not here. Lev, he murmured. Are you sure they're still them, and not you? I couldn't answer. He was right to be afraid. By morning, the base buzzed like a beehive. Someone had leaked the story. The Severin had seen something miraculous. Others whispered about radiation, hallucinations, madness. In the mess hall they stared at us. In the yard, men stepped aside when we passed. That evening we found the mechanic standing on the roof of the warehouse, toes at the edge, arms loose at his sides. The sea wind tangled his hair. Step back, I said. It's quiet down there, he whispered. No noise. He took a step forward. I didn't think. I just felt the rhythm. I breathed in sync with the sea. In 4. Hold. Out 4. Counter spiral. Counter pull. The mechanic froze mid-step, teetered, and then slowly backed away. The doctor stared at me. What did you do? A reverse pattern, I said. Opposite movement. We stayed on that roof until dawn. The mechanic drank water in shaky gulps. Below us the gulls screamed, the waves hissed, life resumed. "Lev," the doctor said softly, watching the horizon. "You're doing dangerous things." "I don't have a choice," I said. "If I don't hold the rhythm holds me." After that, something inside me changed. If I held my breath, I could hear through walls. If I traced a finger on glass, circles appeared, though there was no water. Sometimes, when I closed my eyes, I walked again through the halls of the sunken city. Each step lit a mosaic tile beneath my feet. One night, a whisper woke me. Not words, just rhythm. It pulled me down to the pier. The sea was calm, black, thick as tar. And then, near the rocks, circles bloomed on the surface. Slow, perfect, silver. "I understand," I said to the dark. "You don't want just memory. You want resonance." That was the real danger. If I finished building the device, the response might be so strong the whole coastline would feel it. People would see the light. But could they withstand it? Back in the warehouse, I rebuilt the circuit. Simpler this time, purer, a violin key instead of an engine. The doctor stood beside me, hand on the main switch. "If it gets bad," he said, "I'll cut the power." I nodded. The beam of light passed through water, projected onto the wall. First a circle, then a spiral. The air vibrated, and far out at sea, something answered. A low, resonant tone, deep and soft, like a cello the size of a mountain. We lasted 30 seconds before the doctor slammed the lever down. "My eyes are burning," he gasped. It didn't matter. We had proof. The connection was real, and it went both ways. Not myth, not madness. A bridge, woven from light, water, and breath. Which meant one thing. I could listen. But now I could also speak. The power went out twice that day. In the mess hall, 3 men suddenly bled from the nose. The radio operator had a seizure, curled under the table, covering his ears. I packed the device into a metal box, wrapped it in canvas, and carried it to the old lighthouse that no one used anymore. The place smelled of rust and salt. Its walls peeled like old skin, but the air was breathable there, untouched by the hum of the bass. The captain found me at sunset. The sea was gray, the wind scraping its surface like a blade. "I knew you were hiding something," he said. "Didn't think it ran this deep." "I'm almost out of time," I told him. "For what?" "For the choice. They offered us memory. But that's not the real price. The real price is this. Once I open it, the whole world will begin to resonate. We can bring the light back, or let it die with them." He said nothing for a long time, watching the horizon. "And if we bring it back, people will start to see, feel, hear things. Some will break. Some will awaken. The city won't rise from the sea, but it'll rise inside us. The rhythm will slip into language, into music, into the drawings of children. We'll become their heirs. Not a legend, something alive." "And you're sure that's what they want?" "Maybe they just want peace. Maybe you're dragging them back." The wind lashed salt across my face. I closed my eyes. The spiral burned behind my eyelids. The captain was right. It was a fair question. The guardians weren't prophets. They never spoke of the future, only of not forgetting. Maybe the resonance wasn't a gift at all, but my own hunger to give meaning to what I couldn't understand. "Then let them speak," I said to the sea. "If they want silence, give me a sign." Nothing. Only a gull crying like a rusty hinge. Waves licking the stone. Silence, but alive. "Seems it's our decision then," the captain murmured. "Yours," he added quietly. He put a hand on my shoulder. Warm. Real. Human. For a moment, I remembered who I was. That night I dreamed differently. Not of the city. Of a child's hands holding a seashell. Inside the shell, A spiral. The child laughed, and sunlight glowed on her face. I woke with tears in my eyes. I finally understood. Memory wasn't architecture or light. It was a gesture. Passing it on didn't mean building machines. It meant teaching others how to see. A seashell. A circle in water. A straight shadow on a wall. Not power. Awareness. I went to the lighthouse, set the box on the stone, and waited for dawn. When the first light touched it, I opened the lid, looked inside, and closed it again. "Not yet," I whispered. "People first." I started small. I asked the radio operator for a tape recorder and recorded the sound of the sea. Nothing added. Then, with a flashlight through a glass of water, I filmed the light forming circles on a wall. No tricks. Just physics. Still my hands shook, because I could feel the world answering. The doctor and I set up what we called the quiet room in the basement. One white wall, a bowl of water, a lamp, and a metronome. At first everyone laughed. Then they didn't. Within minutes, anyone who sat inside fell into the same steady rhythm I'd felt in the depths. Calm, clear, whole. "If we teach it this way," the doctor said, "they'll be able to bear more. Not all, but many. Then let's teach." We began with our own crew. The mechanic stopped climbing roofs at night. The radio operator learned to quiet the Morse code he heard in trees. The captain rarely joined us, but when he did, his face softened, the weight in his eyes gone. At night, the sea responded. Circles of light drifted along the shoreline. Sometimes I could swear I heard laughter, faint, like a sleeping child. Then came the order. Official. Cold. The captain crumpled the paper in his hand. "They're shutting us down for evaluation. You especially. Why? Call it safety. Call it politics. Doesn't matter. You've got one night." Everything snapped into focus. The night. The lighthouse. The sea. The choice I couldn't delay any longer. "Lev," he said, meeting my eyes, "if you decide to trigger it, do it gently. Don't break the world." "I'll decide," I said. "But I won't use machines." He gave the smallest smile. "Then maybe we still have a chance." We shook hands. No words left between us. And I went back to the sea. The night felt like a final breath before drowning. Wind clawed at the cliffs, waves tore themselves to foam, and the old lighthouse stood like a black finger against the sky. I wasn't alone for long. The doctor caught up first. "I'm not letting you go alone," he said simply. A few minutes later the radio operator appeared, pale and shaking, clutching his tape recorder to his chest like a child with a toy. At the door of the lighthouse, the captain was already waiting. He didn't ask questions. He just nodded. "We have the night," he said. "Let's use it well." We climbed to the top. The wind bit our faces. Below us, the sea lay black and endless. I set the bowl of water on the concrete floor, the lamp beside it, and the metronome between us. It looked ridiculous, for men sitting in a circle with a bowl of water. But that's how miracles often begin. "No machines," I said. "Just rhythm." The doctor nodded. Then together, we sat. We breathed. In 4 beats. Hold. Out 4. The spiral wasn't drawn. It unfolded in our minds, gentle and outward, like a hand opening. The captain found the tempo. The radio operator stumbled, then steadied. The doctor moved his lips without sound, counting. The water began to respond. Ripples. Rings. Then a small spiral, exactly like the sketches I'd filled my notebook with. The lamp flickered. The shadow on the wall stretched and curved into a moving pattern. The air grew dense, as if the world itself was holding its breath. And then the sea answered. Not with thunder or song, but a sigh. Far below, something vast turned its gaze toward us. "They're here," whispered the radio operator. "We didn't summon them," I said. "We just showed we remember how to breathe." We held the rhythm. The doctor laid a hand on the floor. The captain stared out at the horizon, eyes bright with something between awe and fear. The pulse rose, not loud, but everywhere. In the city miles away, lights flickered. In bedrooms, people woke. Some cried. Some laughed. Some simply stood by their windows, hearts pounding to the same rhythm as ours. One child pressed his forehead to the glass and saw, in a puddle below, a spiral of light. His mother pulled him back. He smiled. "We're not alone anymore," whispered the doctor. "And we never were," the captain said. Then came the surge. From the horizon, 3 faint domes of light rose. Massive, silent. The radio operator whimpered, clutching his recorder. "They're coming." "No," I said softly. "They're showing us the boundary." I lifted my hand, not commanding but offering. I shifted the spiral in my mind. Not come, not take, just see. The sea fell still. The domes hovered, pulsing once, twice, then retreated. Their glow dissolved into the waves like warm milk in dark tea. That was the truth. We were the boundary. Not steel, not stone. Humans. We could open or close, connect or destroy. The choice was always ours. The metronome kept ticking. The water trembled. The doctor's head bowed. The captain's breathing slowed. The radio operator murmured something. Maybe a prayer, maybe nothing at all. Then footsteps clanged on the stairs below. Voices. Orders. Soldiers. We didn't move. 2 men burst in, stopped, stared. "What the hell are you doing?" The captain didn't even look up. "Breathing," he said. "Sit down." One of them hesitated, then did. We held the rhythm together. 5 now, not 4. Below, the city quieted. Lights dimmed. Waves softened. Dogs stopped barking. Somewhere, a child finally fell asleep. When I felt the moment reach its natural end, I slowed the breath. 4, 5, 6. The spiral folded inward until it was only a point of stillness. The lamp steadied. The water stilled. Outside, a thin tear opened in the clouds. A single star shone through, bright and silver. The younger soldier whispered, "What was that?" The doctor answered quietly, "We closed the echo. We kept the world from breaking." The captain added, "We taught it to listen." I looked down at the bowl of water, where the lamplight made one last fading circle. "They don't want worship," I said. "They want us to carry them. In silence, in kindness, in our hands." We climbed down from the lighthouse at dawn. The air smelled new. Smoke rose from the chimneys, gulls fought over fish, soldiers yawned and lit cigarettes. Everything was the same. And yet, the world had shifted, by the width of a single breath. They took me in at sunrise. No cuffs, no shouting, just procedure. The captain walked beside me. The doctor followed a few paces back. The radio operator sat on a rock near the dock, head bowed, asleep for the first time in days. Inside, the office smelled of wet paper and tobacco. 2 officers waited behind a desk, faces blank as concrete. "What exactly did you do at the lighthouse last night?" "We breathed," I said. "After your breathing, half the district woke up," one of them snapped. 3 fainted. 1 panicked. Another said she felt joy. "Explain." "We closed what was leaking," I told them. "We gave people only what they could bear. It's not a device. It's a skill. Give us time, and we can teach it." The room was silent except for the scratch of a pencil. "You're dangerous," one said finally. "Crowds are unpredictable. A single word, a single rhythm. The danger, the captain interrupted, is pretending it isn't real. He looked them dead in the eye. You can't put the sea on a leash. The doctor spoke quietly. If fear is taught, calm can be taught too. It's like swimming, the water stays the same, but people stop drowning. More silence. Paperwork. A form pushed toward me. I signed where they pointed. A promise not to conduct unauthorized activities. It meant nothing. Outside, in the corridor, the light from the window cut through the dust. Lev, the captain said, they'll hound us, question us, maybe break us, but what happened last night, no one can erase. I know, I said, and I know something else. We held the tide back once. We'll have to do it again, and again, until everyone learns how. How many will that be? As many as see a spiral in a puddle and smile. We stepped into the wind. The city throbbed with morning. Engines, gulls, footsteps, the hum of lives. Somewhere beneath it all pulsed a quiet rhythm, the sea's breath, still answering. Weeks passed. They interrogated us, wrote reports, then lost them in filing cabinets. Officially, nothing happened. Unofficially, people came. 2 at a time. I keep hearing it at night, someone said. Can you teach me to make it stop? Another. It hums under my heartbeat. I just want to breathe without fear. A mother whispered, my son listens to shells and smiles. Is that normal? We didn't build a school or a church. We just showed the gesture. A hand on the chest. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. A spiral, not inward but outward. And a small, human smile. It spread quietly, like music through walls. A composer wrote a piece that left audiences trembling, not with fear, but recognition. A fisherman stopped climbing to the roof at night. A teacher drew spirals on the blackboard and told her class, this is what balance looks like. Children made circles with their fingers in puddles and giggled at the ripples. Rumors bloomed. Some called it a cult. Others, therapy. Some said a new war was coming under the sea. I said the same thing every time. It's not a religion. It's like swimming. The water's the same. We just stopped sinking. Inside me, life became double-layered. While I talked with people on shore, part of me still saw, deep below, the city sleeping, domes breathing in slow light. Sometimes, on moonless nights, a faint white shimmer appeared across the bay, proof the guardians still listened. But one truth remained. The pact wasn't finished. They'd said, one will carry, all will live. I'd carried it. Now it was time to let it go. We met at the pier, the captain, the doctor, the radio operator. The sea was calm, stars hanging low like lanterns. You're sure? The captain asked. Yes. You'll give back more than they gave. I know. I walked to the water's edge and sat down. My boots filled with salt. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inside my chest, the city awoke. The laughter of its children, the echo of its towers, the warmth of a hand offering a seashell. I gathered it all, their grief, their beauty, their endless patience, and released it. The sea took it without splash or sound. For a heartbeat, the world glowed. Then it was gone, like breath on glass. The radio operator touched my shoulder. You still here? I'm here, I said. The silence felt new. Not empty. Pregnant, like the pause before birth. The doctor knelt beside me. What's left? I smiled. Simple things. A shell. A puddle. A shadow that falls straight. And the feeling that maybe, just maybe, we'll make it. The captain exhaled, long and slow. That's enough. Out at sea, 3 faint domes of light rose once more, then sank, dissolving into the dark. Thank you, I heard. Not in words, but in warmth. Since that night, my sleep is quiet. No visions, no voices. Just the sounds of the world, the neighbor's snore, a leaking faucet, a mouse in the wall. It's better than any revelation. It's life. We kept the quiet room. The doctor refined the method for those touched by the rhythm. Breath, water, light, conversation. The radio operator learned to track disturbances before they grew wild. The captain still visits sometimes, sits in silence, then leaves lighter than he came. One winter evening, a woman arrived with her daughter. The girl wouldn't speak, her eyes fixed on the floor. We showed her the bowl of water, the lamp, the gesture. She watched the ripples spread and smiled. Not at us, but at the water. "She's Nina," her mother whispered. "She hasn't slept in weeks. But now she's all right," I said. Nina looked up. "Someone's laughing in there," she said. "It's the sea. Is it good? If you speak to it kindly, yes." Outside, the air smelled of snow. On the corner, a boy turned a seashell in his hand. A spiral shimmered faintly in its curve. That's how it will spread, not through thunder or prophecy, but through gestures. A shell, a circle, a quiet breath. And maybe one day the world will learn to breathe in unison, with the sea, with the light, with itself. Sometimes at night, I still walk down to the pier. I sit. I listen. The sea hums softly, like pages turning in an ancient book. Beneath the waves, the guardians rest. Not gods, not monsters, but healers keeping watch. And if I listen closely enough, I can still hear them say, "We see. We're near. Don't break." I nod toward the darkness and whisper back, "It's all right. We remember." The crew of the Severin lives their lives. The radio operator has a son who listens to shells. The doctor smiles more than he used to. The captain still comes to the quiet room when the world grows loud. And me, I write. Not reports, but stories. When people ask what really happened down there, I tell them the truth. No myths, no heroes, just what it was. How we found the ruins. How the light entered us. How we carried it and gave it back. How we learned to answer. And I always begin the same way. My name is Lieutenant Commander Lev Ostrogin, Senior Navigator of the submarine Severin. Remember my name, and remember this voice, because what I'm about to tell you happened exactly as it did. And I end the same way every time, because it's the only truth that matters. If something remembers, it also deserves silence. And if something breathes, it deserves the chance to learn not to break. We are the boundary, and the boundary is human. If this story touched something in you, stay with us. Subscribe, leave a like, and don't miss the moment when the next story knocks at your door. And in the comments, write just one word. The word that stayed with you tonight. From that word, our next story may begin.